And another thing I want to talk about is a different topic. I want to talk about the NBA. This is something I just kind of will roll into this video because I think I don't have too much to say about it. But Yao Ming, Shaq, and Allen Iverson got into the Hall of Fame of this class. This year's NBA Hall of Fame class is headlined by those people, and they're considered really great players. But I just want to give my opinions on these players. For Yao Ming, a lot of people have expressed on Yao Ming, I've seen on social media, that Yao Ming doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame somehow. That they don't, just because he's not as great as Shaq or Allen Iverson was. But they don't realize that Yao Ming basically caused 1.3 billion people, like Chinese people, to be involved in basketball. That's a basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame. And that's the same reason why Arvydas Sabonis got in and a bunch of other players got in, like Oscar Schmidt, because it's just entirely on the international aspect. And he was actually a decent player. He was All-NBA second team a bunch of times. He averaged 19, 9, 1.5, and 2 over his career. If you compare that to Alonzo Mourning, who everyone agrees is a Hall of Famer, he averaged 17, 8.5, 1, and 3 over his career. So actually Alonzo Mourning's stats and Yao Ming's stats are comparable. So he wasn't that bad. Like, if he was, I would consider him to be the second best center in the NBA. You know, Shaq was first over some of his years. You know, when 2005, 2007-ish, I think he would be the second best center in the NBA, and that's definitely Hall of Fame level. Second of all, talking about Shaq, I definitely think Shaq is definitely a top 5 center of all time, but people overrate his dominance a little bit. I watched this segment where Skip Bayless talked about the ESPN analyst talked about how Shaq was the third best player of all time just because he was so dominant during the Lakers three-peat. The thing is, Shaq never had an equal during his time. His prime is around 2000 to 2005. Around that time, the best centers of his time, of his era, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, were all retiring or past their primes. The second best center of the 2000s, you might consider either Dwight Howard or Yao Ming. They weren't in their primes yet, right? They just weren't in their primes during that time. So I would say that Shaq kind of got lucky that his era wasn't really competitive at the center position. If you take Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, for example, he's, in many people's lists, he's the best center of all time. But like, look at his competition he had to deal with. He had to deal with Wilt Chamberlain, Moses Malone, Dave Cowens, Wes Unseld, Nate Thurmond, Artis Gilmore, Bob Lanier, Bill Walton, Robert Parrish. Later in his career, he had to deal with Hakeem and Ewing. So he had to deal with a ton of competition during his era. Those are all Hall of Famers. So if people want to ding Wilt's career for weak competition because they say, oh, Wilt dominated because his competition was weak, then they should definitely say the same about Shaq's career for weak competition at his position as well, right? Because who the heck was the second best center in Shaq's time during his prime, right? There wasn't anyone. So during his prime, he had no competition at the center position at all. So yeah. As for Allen Iverson, yeah, I think Allen Iverson is overrated because he is, like, similar with Kobe. Like, his popularity, his actual popularity is a lot bigger than his actual performance as a player, right? Well, people want to, like, the same thing with Kobe Bryant. He's definitely more popular than his actual stats would indicate. But yeah, you can definitely see he's one of the most inefficient shooting guards, only 42% field goal percentage, which is worse than Kobe's, by the way. Actually, 42% field goal percentage, that's worse than Steph Curry's 3-point percentage. To put that into relative context here, his 2-point percentage is worse than Steph Curry's 3-point percentage. It's worse than Kobe's 45% or John Havlicek at 44%. Both of those guys shot a lot. They're really high on the missed field goals list. So you can say by stats, you can say, well, Iverson was a terrible player because he missed a lot of shots. But I can understand why he's so popular, because people related to his style, his swagger, his attitude, his height, and his heart. And they could relate with him, and they really supported him because he was a small dude, and that always makes him an underdog. And that's why, even though ESPN rated him number 48 best player of all time, I still put him a lot higher at number 30, because I can understand why he missed a lot of his shots. Because he was he was just a small player, and he had to carry his team. And yeah, he's going to miss a lot of shots. So it doesn't necessarily make him a terrible player. and it just means that he's not the greatest shooter, you know. And just because you're the greatest shooter doesn't make you a great player either, right? Like Ray Allen is a great shooter, Steph Curry is a great shooter, but they're not like the best player ever. So yeah, I just want to say that you don't really have to be a great shooter to be a great player. And yeah, Allen Iverson wasn't a great shooter, but I think he's still a great player. So that's what I have for those topics. Alright, so now the next topic I want to talk about is about technology. So first thing I want to talk about is why I don't like 4K. I don't like 4K TVs, displays, and really high resolution displays. Okay, the first thing I want to say is why are people why don't I like high resolution displays? Okay, so why are people so obsessed with the PPI of a display when 20 years ago they had a 640 by 480 screen like VGA on a CRT monitor, and I don't think many people was complaining back then about the screen, right? They weren't asking, say, oh, let's see, VGA resolution, oh, it's got too low PPI, this is crap. Like, I don't know how many people were saying that back then, but it's not like now, and it's totally different. You know, like, wasn't DVD considered good picture quality back then? But it's only like 480p now, and people would say that 480p DVD quality is crap now. People's eyes don't get better as time goes on, but somehow our standards got way higher for display resolution. That kind of annoys me. It's ever since that Apple introduced the iPhone 4 with the Retina display. That was back in 2010. So before 2010, I think people were fairly okay with DVD quality and HD TVs, right? And even back then, before then you had like VHSs, which were even worse. Those are like 240, right? So yeah, ever since the iPhone 4 with Retina display, everything has super high resolution now. It's got iPhone 4. Then you got like the Samsung Galaxy up in that, and then you got the Apple MacBook with Retina display, which really started like the snowstorm of high resolution displays on laptops, which I really hate. The thing is, the larger the display, the more battery it sucks up, and that's one of the things I don't like. Is you might think that this is offset by a bigger battery in a phone, but it's not the case in reality. In reality, the smaller phones get better battery life. That's why I like my Xperia Z3 Compact. That's why I like my iPhone SE. If you compare the iPhone SE to the iPhone 6, you can see the iPhone SE has better battery life, even though the iPhone 6, has a bigger battery. So why is that the case? Because the display sucks a lot more power than is taken up by the battery. So another thing I wanna mention about that as well. And the thing is, once you have a really high resolution display, high PPI screen, 4K TV and stuff, the problem is you have to get the content for that as well. The content is not going to come automatically. Like, it might upscale everything, but even upscaled, it doesn't look that great. So I would actually take the native resolution rather than the upscaled version, right? If I have a 4K laptop, for example, which I think is the stupidest thing, because a 4K display on a laptop would mean that the battery life is shit, and it would mean that all the Facebook images that you download, which are compressed, and all the YouTube videos that you watch, which are also compressed, is going to look like shit on that laptop. So unless you have like a 4K YouTube stream, 4K like Netflix stream, like a big enough photo that you took, like you have to have the original resolution of the photo, which is never going to be the case if you get it from a friend, because whenever a friend sends your files, it's going to be compressed some way. Even through email, through something, it's going to be compressed in some way. So you're never going to get the original megapixels unless they send it directly to you, the file directly to you, right? So most of the time, the pictures and videos that you view on your computer is going to be super compressed. Because of these high resolution displays, it's going to look like shit when it's blown up. So that's why I really hate having high resolution displays, and it sucks up battery life. And the thing that I don't get is, why do people care about video so much, like the PPI of a display, when they don't care about audio? So you care about your eyes way more than your ears. It doesn't make any sense, right? Everyone is a videophile because they want really high resolution, glossy, IPS, OLED, whatever screens, but they don't care about the audio at all. They still listen to the crap MP3s on their like computers with a shit DAC and they don't care about the audio quality. I don't get that. If people can tell the difference between a full HD TV 1080p, which is now low resolution, right? So all the reviews that I read from laptops now is, and I hate this, by the way, this is a pet peeve. I read reviews and the minus section is like, oh, it only has a 1080p display. Okay. So I was like, well, you know, that's the display of a high definition TV before, and now it's like crap now. It's like super low resolution. Wow, that's incredible. It's like our eyes didn't change, but whatever. But yeah, why can people tell the difference between a full HD TV and a 4K TV? Why can't they tell the difference between MP3 and a FLAC file? It's the same difference, you know? The amount of resolution increase gained from a FLAC to an MP3, the lossy to a lossless, is pretty much the same difference between 1080p and a 4K, the much higher PPI, right? So why give your eyes such good treatment but not your ears? I know. That's why I have a lot of headphones, speakers, portable amps, DACs, high-res audio files, but not many people seem to care about it because I'm an audiophile, and yeah, for some reason just video files are just a lot more, video files is now the average consumer. The average consumer is a video file, and audio files are still the small segment that they were before. So I don't get that. Okay, this leads to my next topic, and main topic I actually want to talk about today is Apple got rid of the headphone jack in the iPhone 7. And this is big news to a lot of people, and a lot of people are very divided on this issue. So there's two camps divided on this issue: the supporting Apple's decision. The one side supports Apple's decision, and they say that, oh, wireless is the future, and 3.5 millimeter is the old legacy standard. We have to get rid of it. It's like 100 years old. And the other side, you know, disagrees with this and said, oh, the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack should never be replaced. But what do you think my decision is to stand on this one? What do I think? I'm an audiophile and a musician, so of course I'm gonna say the 3.5 millimeter headphone or aux jack should not go away, at least not right now. You know, one of the reasons is because as an audiophile and as a musician, and I know that audio engineers, musicians, audiophiles, they have a lot of legacy equipment, either musical equipment or audio equipment, that's just not going to work with wireless. There's several reasons why wireless cannot replace a headphone jack. That's one of them. Number one is that there is like millions of devices that will just be instantly incompatible with wireless because they only take in the headphone jack. This is everything from like old laptops without Bluetooth to audio equipment, you know, that obviously don't have Bluetooth. If I have a mixer and I have like compressors and everything, I have like the record, like a record table or something, those are not going to have Bluetooth, right? Or old stereo system, old speakers. It could be like millions of hi-fi audio equipment for audiophiles, musicians, engineers. We just don't have the wireless connections for that. We only have wired. So that's one thing. Number two, wireless has inherent latency issues. Everyone who's used Ethernet over Wi-Fi knows this to be true. I know that these days that only gamers or like really hardcore like people use Ethernet now because everyone uses wireless, but we know that Ethernet is always going to be faster. Gigabit Ethernet is always going to be faster than Wi-Fi. That's just the way, you know. Wired is always faster, transmits data much faster than wireless. Because of this inherent advantage and the fact that we listen to digital music, wireless can never really sound good as wired. So wired headphones will always sound better than a wireless headphone at the same price point. Number three is that wireless headphones have to be recharged. So the Apple AirPods last 5 hours. That's actually not a lot for you to go on trips and travel a lot. And I know this because I'm a frequent traveler. You know, this might be the time it takes to get from one train to another, from one city to another city. You know, I actually spent 11 hours on a bus going from Bosnia to Serbia, so I know that 5 hours is not enough. You're having to always charge something is a hassle, and obviously a wired connection has infinite battery life. So that's number three. Number four, because it's wireless, they can't add any external headphone amplifier or DAC or noise cancellation or any kind of other kind of audio system to the audio chain because, well, it's wireless, right? If you have a wired connection, they can actually build it onto the chain. That's why with some of my old noise cancellation headphones and stuff, they have something that adds on to the wire, right? And then it feeds into the jack on the phone or onto any other device. They can build this onto the Bluetooth headphones itself, but that will decrease the battery life. So that's probably not going to happen. I know that Lightning headphones or USB-C headphones, they can have these things built in, but they're just not going to have the same wide compatibility as a traditional headphone with a 3.5mm connection, because, well, obviously Lightning is only going to work with Apple, and USB-C, USB-C is not really widely available yet, right? And a lot of our old legacy equipment, like I said, is not going to work with it, so it has the same problem. Yeah, and I still have not seen a wireless planar magnetic headphone like an Audi's or something, a high impedance headphone, right? I just don't know if it's possible to make one of those that's as a wireless, you know, and those are going to need a headphone amp to drive it. So that's another thing I want to talk about. And yeah, you just some people also do this comparison. They say that, well, if you remove the headphone jack, then it's kind of like removing the floppy disk drive or cassette drive or optical drive, which Apple also did. And you know, it's an old ancient legacy connection that has to be removed in order for us to progress to the future. But I would say you cannot remove the headphone jack, and you can't make this comparison, because the floppy disk drive, the cassette drive, optical drive, and if you want to go about ports, you can talk about the serial port, the parallel port being replaced by the USB 1, 1.1, 2 replaced by 3, 3.1, and then Thunderbolt. You can talk about the evolution of the ports, evolution of the storage formats, but the new ports and the newer formats are always going to replace those old ones because they are strictly better, strictly superior, right? Whereas in this instance, wireless is not a strictly better solution, and I just gave you four reasons as to why it's not a strictly better solution. And furthermore, the headphone jack is a way of enjoying audio, just like speakers, right? So saying that you have to remove the headphone jack and use Bluetooth headphones is just like saying, oh, let's remove the speaker from a phone, you have to use Bluetooth speakers, right? It's just not going to happen. I think just too many devices have it. We need it right now. We don't have any wide compatibility with the newer formats like USB-C and Lightning. Until we have like millions and millions of devices that use those, then I guess you can replace it. But for now, we have too many legacy equipment that use the old 3.5mm. We have too many, like, people already have too many speaker system headphones and stuff that already use it, right? And yeah, just like if you say that you have to remove the headphone jack, you basically are saying you have to remove the speakers because, oh, you have to use Bluetooth speakers now. You know, that's basically what it's akin to. We are not ready for it. We're not ready for it yet. There's not been really mass adoption yet. Maybe it's going to take a lot of time because there's so many legacy devices that use it, and there's going to be people in third world countries that are going to have a hard time getting wireless stuff, right? If you want to talk about all these, like, getting a wired headphone is so cheap, you know? So it's just go to a convenience store in a lot of countries and you can buy a wired headphone. A wireless headphone, it's going to take a while. You know, there's going to be a lot more expensive components in there, and then the trouble of having to pair it and everything and having to recharge it, I just don't see it that people are really going for that. It'll, at least, you know, across the world. I don't know about America, but across the world I just cannot see people going for that over the wired. And yeah, I realize that you can use a dongle with the new iPhone, but you can't charge your phone at the same time, and you have to make sure not to lose the dongle, which is kind of a hassle. If you lose your dongle on trip, you're pretty much screwed. So yeah, that's my opinion on 4K video, on high resolution stuff, and on the removal of the headphone jack on the iPhone 7. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Leave your feedback or comments in the section below. Thanks for watching.